Absolutely brutal week one for the New York Football Giants. I guess that's a way to start a show. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Big Blue Avenue. My name is Tom Scavetta, joined alongside my lovely co-host Sam Cardona, Norberg. Sam, how are you doing tonight? If I dare ask.
I know it's like you're almost like a little scared to ask. Yeah, not great in terms of football. Fine otherwise, but no, this past Sunday was a rough one.
Yeah. This sucks to be blunt. Um, it's been a tough last year or two now for the Giants since the 2022 playoff loss. So we're going to dive a little bit into that tonight. Just to preview the show quick, we're going to pay homage to the 23rd anniversary of 9/11. I think this is our first time ever doing a Big Blue Avenue show on the night of 9/11. Give our quick week one takeaways, reveal our player of the week, and we'll bring up our guest, Stephie Smalls. Sam, good friend of yours, to preview week two against the Washington Commanders. So very excited about that. You can see all our social media below on our ticker. We'll leave that up there for another moment. And Sam, the reason why we're bringing this up, not only has it been 23 years, but this played a huge significance in your day, my day, and the day of the New York Football Giants as well. As we know, the NFL did not play the week after 9/11, 23 years ago. Players were in there at ground zero, the World Trade Center with first responders, digging through debris, trying to find, signs of human life, seeing if people were still alive. And, quickly before we, get into the Giants story, I mean, your overall thoughts on kind of like what today means for not just the New York Giants, but for you and I, like the New York football world, the whole world, especially the metropolitan area in general.
Absolutely. This was a very tough day for everyone. My father was a first responder for 9/11. And, to this day, it affects him. And it's not just, 23 years ago, something happened. Like, this sticks with us for so long after. And, of course, people across the country will say they'll never forget. But for you and I, who were kind of directly, you know, in line with it, it's crazy. We were both so young, but at the same time, I remember that day very, very clearly. Um, I remember, my dad not being home and, not really knowing what's going to happen next. It was a really horrifying and scary time for New Yorkers specifically, but for everyone around the country as well. And yeah, it's pretty crazy how it's already been 23 years since this happened. And it's kind of like weird. It's like you want to celebrate it in the fact that there are people like, like my father who's still with us, but then you also want to feel, a little bit of sadness and remembrance for the people who are no longer with us.
And Sam, on behalf of myself, the utmost respect and, for your father,
Thank you.
serving the city of New York, um, and this country for that matter, public safety, that's a huge, um, factor into this world that we live in. And, losing my cousin's husband on that day as well was definitely hit a little home. And one of my mother's patients in, the x-ray tech room, my mom was an x-ray tech, and, losing one of her patients and going to school 15 minutes away. I was in first grade. And I feel like, Sam, you and I, around that same age group,
Yeah.
we're sort of the youngest people left that are still old enough to remember it.
Yeah.
And that was right before I first started watching the Giants consistently. In 2002, my grandfather was like, "We're turning on the TV, kid. We're watching the game." And it was crazy seeing all these guys on the Giants back then. And talking about the Giants story quick,
Ooh.
since 9/11 did happen on a Tuesday morning, the Giants played on Monday Night Football that week against the Denver Broncos. They took a red-eye flight back from Denver to Newark, New Jersey, where they landed around 6:30 in the morning before the planes took off. Jim Fossil, in an interview with Rich Eisen a few years ago, stated the following. We were told that the gate of the terrorist hijackers of the Al-Qaeda terrorist group was right next to where they were unboarding their flight, where they landed, they disembarked, they, went about their business for the day, went to baggage claim, and, we're preparing next week for the Kansas City Chiefs. And little did we know, right next to the Giants gate was the plane that was hijacked. And
crazy,
very sad. Terrible. And to add even more thoughts to the story, the way Jim Fossil described it, and rest his soul as well. That day he was in his office, looking outside his office where people could park and get onto a bus into New York. I believe Port Authority, right? Where you can get, or maybe the path to get from New Jersey to Manhattan.
Sure.
And Giant Stadium was a ground where people can park their cars back in the day. And that day there was roughly, on average, he said, around 200 cars there. He left for work that day. The parking lot was still full. And he drove back the next morning, and roughly 150 cars were still there. So those were the people who had perished, unfortunately, in 9/11. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives. And, I just wanted to spend, Sam, the first 5-10 minutes of the show just touching upon that. And, Brian Dable obviously talking to the media today with the FDNY hat on. I'm glad that the coaches and staff, that maybe weren't here during that time, know the importance of this day and the way it impacted the New York Giants. And it's crazy because now the Giants going in and beating the Chiefs sounds like an afterthought, but they went that next week out to Arrowhead, beat the Kansas City Chiefs the following week. NFL resumed play in week 3, Sam, and here's that awesome classic photo. 2001 Giants.
I love all the hats. Yeah, that's awesome.
There's Tiki Barber in there, Strahan, Amani Toomer, Kerry Collins, awesome stuff. And there's Jason Garrett too, number 17. Jason Garrett, gotta love it.
It's a great picture.
Yeah, iconic. But yeah, let's talk about some football now, though. I think it's tough to transition off of that, but Sam, it feels almost like we're having a funeral for Daniel Jones tonight. And to be honest with you, not only did the Giants get scolded in week 1, 28-6, it was rough, Sam. I don't know about you watching on that TV, seeing Vikings fans do the skull chant, like not even in the fourth quarter yet. How horrendous was that as a fan? How bad was that feeling?
No, it was all around. I actually banished the Giants to my computer. I had Red Zone on my TV, and it got to the point where I was hiding them in like a tab on my browser because I was like, I don't even want to watch this anymore. It's not fun. Like, I'm not having a good time. Then I'm like, I'm not even really paying attention anymore. I'm watching Red Zone, trying to see teams who actually want to win football games, competing. But I could not get over the fact that Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings in a transitional year right now looked like a freaking Super Bowl contending team. Like, I could not get, when I heard the announcer say that the first incompletion that Sam Darnold threw he was 12 for 12 by that point, like he had not thrown an incomplete pass yet. I was like, Sam Darnold, really? Like, this is the guy we're making look so good? It was not a good time. I did not enjoy myself.
I completely agree. A lot of penalties, which were criminal. The Legends were in attendance for the Giants' top 100 in honor of the 100th season. What did you think of the uniforms? Were they as bad as we sort of talked about previously, or did they turn out to be a little easier look on the eyes for you, Sam?
I will say from the waist up, it grew on me. Like, I was like, okay, I kind of see what they're going for. On the field, they look a little different. They look a little cooler. But the khaki pants were really killing me. And there were so many people on Twitter talking about how it looked like a lot of guys weren't wearing any pants because it matched their skin tone. And I was like, I can't. It was like not – I think if the pants were like blue or something, like it would have flowed a lot better. But obviously I know that they were paying homage to, the original Giants uniforms. But man, I could not get on board with the khaki pants.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. Um, I didn't really pinpoint that out, but thinking back at it now, I could see that where it's kind of like, but I don't know what was worse, the play or the pants, Sam, because Nick McLeod started at corner. He sucked in the nicest way possible. They couldn't contain Aaron Jones, and Daniel Jones. He's done. He's done. I'm sorry. I've stood by his side for this long. 2022, his play was awesome. He played really, really well. He looked like a top 10 quarterback. And Sam, this was the same Minnesota Vikings team less than 18 months ago that he carved up in a playoff game. He literally carved them up. I don't really know what the future holds for him because last year it was bad, but the line was also historically bad and he didn't have a number one receiver. Now the line is actually good and he has a number one receiver and he caused 3 of the 5 sacks on him on Sunday. He threw that pick 6 to Andrew Van Ginkel. He should never be throwing the ball in the flat like that. Brian Dable and him just couldn't get on the same page. And Kevin O'Connell postgame just said, we were more prepared than they were. And they were. The Vikings, unfortunately, got their revenge from the 2022 playoff game. And Sam, I think Daniel Jones' time as the starting quarterback of the Giants is coming to a close. If he doesn't flip the script this week and beat a team that he's historically good against, it's time to bench him for Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, and as you guys can see, you're like, why isn't Sam wearing any Giants gear today? It's because I was trying to do a grand reveal here. We got our Tommy Cutlets jersey on today because
love that.
I am so upset with Daniel Jones. We longtime watchers of this show know, like, we have been by Daniel Jones's side since 2019. Since the moment he got drafted, we've been sitting here saying Daniel Jones is the guy. We're going to make sure he's the guy. We're going to stand by him. After yesterday's performance, and people will say, oh, it's just week one. Oh, it's just week one. It's not just week one. We have seen this last year. We saw it the previous year before that, and we continue to believe in him. And I'm just, I'm tired. I wish him nothing but the best. I will continue to support him as he is my starting quarterback, and I would support him if he went to another team. But right now, I need to see some change. I need to see some improvement, and unfortunately, it's not happening despite the improvements happening around him. So I pulled out. It doesn't even say DeVito on the back. It says Tommy Cutlets.
Beautiful. I love it.
So, we're here. I know, Locke is hurt right now. So if Tommy DeVito comes into the game, I'm just going to say I'm not going to be upset about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for the comment, Mark. Building off of Daniel Jones, obviously we know the performance was bad. Was the heckling and the burning of the jersey called for? And Sam, your friend, if I can just credit her for this, Sarah McCrory filmed that video of the fans burning the 2 Daniel Jones jerseys. Your thoughts on first waiting for him to come out of the private tunnel to exit, and then the burning of the jerseys?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it before the show started, but it does seem like a very immature way to approach the game of football when people are performing bad, but it's kind of inevitable, right? Like, these are the way fans are going to react 9 times out of 10. And the walking out, the waiting to boo him, like, I feel like it's kind of expected at that point. Like, there are, it's not like these people are going out of their way to, like, drive somewhere to go do it. Like, they're there. They're like, you know what, let's just wait for him to come out. Let's tell him how we're feeling about it. And yeah, he played like garbage. It's kind of like, what else do you expect? They're not going to stand out there and cheer for you, buddy, unfortunately. I'm never a fan of people burning jerseys, not only because of how kind of, like, disrespectful it is, but also, like, other people in the world could need clothes. You could just donate it if you don't want it anymore. Like, that it's just like the waste of resources for me, really, that always bothers me. But it's a little, expected. Mm-hmm. People have been, so many people have been talking about how much they don't like Daniel Jones for so long. We have not been those people, But unfortunately, it's kind of like coming to that point. But yeah, the burning of the jerseys is never. I think the only time I've ever been okay with someone burning jerseys is Deshaun Watson. That's about the extent for me.
Yeah, completely agree. Look, I don't like either act, but I see why the fans did it. I could tolerate the heckling him, but the burning of the jerseys too far, in my opinion. And it's not like the O-line was bad. He had 2.82 seconds on average to throw the football. That was 12th best in the NFL this past week, Sam. Andrew Thomas did not give up a single pressure. The Giants' offensive line only allowed 1 sack on John Runyon Jr., who ironically is supposed to be our best pass blocking guard. But again, tough matchup. The Vikings were all over the Giants on Sunday. You can't really fault any offensive lineman for the way that Daniel Jones played. And, Malik Neighbors needs to get the ball in his hands. I mean, is calling plays going to be a problem for Brian Daboll? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I was sad not to see as much Malik Neighbors as I was expecting this week. I was sitting there waiting for him to make these amazing throws that we were seeing all summer long, in practice and preseason. They're talking about Malik Neighbors is making this throw and this throw and that throw. It's like, okay, do it in a real game. Let's see Malik Neighbors. Let's see what he's made of. Because I know he's a great wide receiver. It's like, get the ball in his hands. Let's, make some magic here. But it was just did not look good at all. And unfortunately, the excuses that we've been using for Daniel Jones all these years, like you said, the offensive line and the receiver, those pieces have been fixed, and we're still not seeing the results of it. So it's like, all right, obviously we're seeing the problem here.
You got to call it how it is, right? And Anthony, thank you for the comment. He didn't play well. Yeah, you know what? I could see that too. It could mess with his confidence. His confidence is at an all-time low. But then again, Ant, what do you expect? You were at the game, Ant. So I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm not surprised this is what happened. Hope he plays better in week 2, Kevin. I agree. Thank you so much for that. Any other thoughts on the game, Sam, before we get into Dexter and Kayvon's comments? Because personally, I don't really want to talk about the game for too long because it was not good at all.
Yeah, no, honestly, that was about the extent for me. I didn't really, again, like I said, I kind of stopped watching it at some point because towards the fourth quarter where I was like, obviously we're not going to win this game. So yeah.
Gillen played well.
We covered everything.
Gillen played really well. He had 4 punts down inside the 20. Love that.
Yeah. New kickoff rules, it's the adjustments there.
And Dexter did play well. But the comments here, Sam, obviously there's a lot of money allocated towards the pass rush, and
sure,
Brian Burns is getting a lot of money per year. He's getting $30 million a year to rush the passer. Him and Kayvon Thibodeau combined had 1 pressure on Sunday, and then Kayvon sort of went at Jordan Renan post game. He asked an innocent question, like, you guys are getting a lot of money and you weren't able to rush the passer and Sam Darnold. I know Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill are pretty good tackles, but these were 2 really good edge rushers too. You couldn't get at least a couple pressures throughout the course of the game. I don't know. I don't like it.
No, I think that they're definitely frustrated, one, because they are 2 very talented players on a unfortunately less than talented team right now. And your frustration comes out on the media. The media is also asking you questions about things that you don't want to talk about. I get it. But there are more gracious ways to approach things like that. Kayvon did come out and kind of redeem some of his comments, saying we are a unit type of deal. We're not cohesively working together right now. That needs to change. But yeah, it almost gives people more ammo towards the team as a whole when guys come out and say stuff like this to the media, because you're just obviously they're falling apart behind the scenes.
Absolutely. I take a little more understanding and forgiveness with what Dexter said, but ultimately Kayvon did redeem himself there. You can't hold a grudge on guys. Forever, they're human. They make mistakes. You can't hold them under a microscope the whole time. They're also people as well. Larry Johnson saying, what's up, all? What's up, Larry? Hope you're enjoying 1-0 with your Cowboys. Kenneth, what's up, Kenneth? First-time commenter, I believe. This is absolutely embarrassing. When will it stop? The booing is what it is. Put a better product on the field. Yeah. Well said.
You're right.
Don't disagree. So to put the icing on top of the cake, Sam, guess who is named NFC Offensive Player of the Week?
Ruined my Friday night. Saquon freaking Barkley scored 3 touchdowns on his opening game against the Packers as an Eagle. Come on. It was tough. I will say I got several texts from Jordan that night asking me if I hated her. And I said, I don't hate you. It's not your fault, but I am pretty upset.
I'm not surprised at all. I was expecting him to have a great season with them because he's behind a really good offensive line. You know? That's right, Mark. Yeah, big Eagles fan. And Mark, love-hate with Barkley. Love-hate? I would say so. I'm always going to love the guy to an extent, you know? Can't get mad. You can't get mad. He made the right decision for himself. He scored 3 touchdowns. He deserved the honor. You can't argue with it. You got to call it how it is.
Gets down to just, it's business. It's work at the end of the day. So, got to do what you got to do. But at the same time, dang, you go out there in your first game, you score 3 touchdowns. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a Giants fan or two.
Absolutely. Sam, one quick thing before we bring up our guest. Player of the week.
Yep.
Who did we choose for week 1?
Oh, this was like pretty easy, but we went with our New York Giants player of the week this week, cornerback Drew Phillips, 2024 third-round pick out of Kentucky. He won the starting slot for the cornerback job, and he forced a fumble on that first possession of the game, which was probably the best, entire play of the game. And he's the first New York Giants defense. First time New York Giants defense had a takeaway on the opponent's initial possession to start a season since September 12th, 1999 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Long time. And you could argue Andrew Thomas as well for player of the week, but Drew Phillips did something no one's done in 25 years. So hard to argue against that.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to talk to our guest, Sam. You ready to bring her up? Ready to introduce her?
Very excited to introduce our guest this week. I've known her for quite some time over Twitter and the internet, but we have Stephie Smalls with us right now to talk a little preview. Hi, Stephie. How are you? I don't think
her.
I don't hear her. You might be muted.
We'll let her tackle that for a moment. But
you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I was saying I wish it was on happier terms, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course.
No
We're
problem.
always happy to have you.
Super stoked.
Yeah.
Stoked. So, Sam, we got to talk as a trio now about this upcoming week against Washington, and there's going to be a lot to look forward to, and hopefully things turn around in week 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Stephie, before we get into talking about the Commanders a bit, we were just talking about Daniel Jones. I have a Tommy DeVito shirt on today.
I see.
Give me your thoughts on how you're feeling about this quarterback situation.
Yeah, his time's done. And I think for a lot of us, it's just, I think this is the first time I saw Giants Twitter at one point, get along for more than 5 minutes, which was kind of nice to see. I think it's at the point where this kid has no confidence left. The things that he did do well, he's not doing. You gave him the O-line now that it looked fine. It looked good for what we've seen over the last couple of years. You get him the wide receiver 1, you get him this, you get him that. You can start talking about play calling, whatever you want. But yeah, I think it's time. It's done. I think going into this season, it's nice to be optimistic, but you have to be realistic that this was always probably going to be Daniel Jones's last year in New York. It's just, I didn't think it was going to be this ugly. like that game was really hard to watch. And that's coming from, fans that watched week 1 last year, that watched the Glennon and Fromm years, that watched the 3rd and 9. Like we have seen ugly games. That one was really painful because it just looked like he just gave, like he doesn't even know what he's doing. It's actually kind of sad. Like there's no confidence left in him, and there's really no hope for him in New York, honestly.
No, I agree. It was a tough watch. I kind of stopped watching at some point because it was like I'm not enjoying myself anymore. Like this is not a fun time at all.
No, not fun.
Stephie, do you think that he could possibly have a resurgence as a backup quarterback in the future for another team, kind of like maybe what we saw with Geno Smith a couple years ago?
Yeah, I do, honestly. I think I don't think teams are going to be completely out on him. I think, we can sit here and make all the excuses you want for Daniel. Like at the end of the day, it's Daniel. But he wasn't given the best cards either in New York. They put him behind a horrible O-line. They changed the staff, some of the worst staffs that we've seen personally, I think, in the NFL history. But yeah, I think that he could go to another team. And if they're able to pull that confidence out and he doesn't have the pressure on him, almost like, not as good as Baker, but like what we saw even Baker bop around to a couple teams, finally land on Tampa after being with Carolina and the Rams. And yeah, maybe he does get another shot, because I do think that raw talent is there. It's just he was never given the opportunity, and it's too long now. Like we're done. Like we can't. This is it. Like it's been too much. We've invested too much time, wasted too much stock on other guys that we maybe could have invested in. So yeah, I think he could end up, going somewhere, and I think he's probably a really good backup in the league right now. When he doesn't have the pressure and he doesn't have to play 17 weeks, maybe in a better system. I don't know. It's not working. Like, I think Dable's got to develop his own guy, and we got to move on. It's sad because I rooted for him for a very long time, but enough is enough. Like that was really painful. Like that team made freaking Sam Darnold look like Drew Brees out there. Like it was so painful to watch.
Yeah. I think it's kind of his destiny at this point, right? Like that backup slot is kind of his. And we saw someone like Nick Foles. Nick Foles, backup quarterback, showed up, won a Super Bowl, but you put him in a starting position, he completely falls apart and gets replaced by Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville. So it seems like that's kind of the destiny that he's bound to have.
And listen, he's rich. I don't feel that bad for him. He's going to be okay. He has a Duke degree. He's a handsome dude. He has good manners. He has his head on his shoulders. Like, this kid's going to be fine. He got thrown. He's playing quarterback like a guy that went to Duke and got drafted 6th overall that shouldn't have been drafted 6th overall and then went into a bad system. Like, he is exactly what you should have expected out of him almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Always have a soft spot for him, but 100% agree. It's time to move on.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's been time, but
gotta go.
He's still a leader, even if he doesn't have to start.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen in the coming weeks? And just want to quickly shout out. I have to sort of do the talk of shame here. Larry's girlfriend did beat me in fantasy this week in our work league.
Yikes!
Yes. So I have to shout him out. Cowboys fan too, so I have to.
Oh man, double whammy there.
I gotta put my money where my mouth is and own up to it. But week 2, let's get to a softer note.
God, it's only week 2.
I know.
Despite everything we just said, Jones is still the starting quarterback, and obviously he wasn't alone in looking bad last week. The pass rush was not there. The Vikings had good tackles on the perimeter of the line, but interior-wise, Ed Ingram's a below-average guard, right? And you're going into Washington. Their tackles are not very good. It's Andrew Wiley, who was a swing tackle for the Chiefs. And then I believe the other one is Brandon Coleman. I think it was Charles Leno last year who got replaced by Coleman, who's a former day 3 pick, a veteran now. And I think Burns and Thibodeau are going to feast in this game. I don't know if that's going to lead to a win or not, but I kind of want both of your takes on that because the edge rush was missing in week 1, right? So
Yeah.
Thibodeau has really succeeded against the Commanders in 4 career games. I think he has like 5.5 sacks. So I'm expecting a big game from those 2 edge rushers this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, and probably not the right time to talk about, but we're going to have to start having a conversation about Kayvon pretty soon because the spike weeks and then completely disappearing like you're not on the roster is kind of starting to get old, and I love him, and I am so happy he's on this team, but at the same time, like we kind of need to start seeing a little bit more consistency out of him, especially as we start approaching like him wanting to get paid, because right now he's not someone I would pay if I'm the GM. I think, you look at this Washington team, the secondary is not good. The O-line is not good. You saw Baker throw for almost 300 yards. You saw 3 different wide receivers. Rashad White even got in there for some action. Like, there is no reason. If this Giants team is actually as bad as it looked last week, and this game also goes that poorly, like I probably will not watch another game, because this is a perfect opportunity to at least give us a watchable game with the weapons that they have. We have to see a pass rush. You got to get some pressure on Daniels again to make some mistakes. That shouldn't be an issue against this O-line. And then, just throw the ball. Like and I'm so sick of saying that. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way after watching this team. For just throw the ball. Like I truly don't understand. And it's so funny. They went away from things like when Danny did throw that pick 6. It's like for so many years, you guys would never throw the ball at the goal line. And then you decide in that moment, while he's having a horrible game, that we're going to throw the ball after you haven't done it. Like, what? I just don't, the thought process wasn't there for me. I think they probably feel the heat and they have to turn it around. Like, if this is another blowout, I've been in the camp that Dable and Shane's seats are not hot. Like, I don't think that's happening. I don't think they're losing their jobs after this year. If this game goes bad, I might change my stance on that.
No, I would agree with that, because I was the same. I was like not expecting Dable or Shane to be losing their jobs at any point. Daniel Jones is kind of like that first step to, move him out of it. And then if they start to improve, if they don't, then obviously there's a lot of different issues we got going on here. But I definitely would, like, that's what I was saying before. I was like, why are we not seeing Malik Neighbors like be a star right now? Like, why did we not put the ball in his hands last week? Like, maybe if we did that, we might not be having this conversation about Daniel Jones. Like, maybe we'd be like, he could get there, we'll get the ball into the receiver's hands and we could deal with it. But I want to see Malik Neighbors be an absolute beast, and I did not see that. So if we can freaking throw the ball, that would be phenomenal. And Washington it's a divisional game. We should be able to beat them at least one time. It'd be great to have a bit of a resurgence week 2. But
you're 5-1-1 against this team, Danny. If your confidence is going to come from anywhere, it is in this matchup. If this game looks very bad, like, I'm benching Danny for week 3. Like, I'm done. Like, that's it. Like, he really, like, there's no reason for this game to go poorly.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And just to quickly pivot from that point you mentioned about Dable and Shane, I also agree. I think Dable should get the chance to get his own quarterback, because he did inherit Daniel Jones. As much as we might like the guy off the field, he needs that chance. And this week has to be the last straw, in my opinion. Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback, he didn't lose any fumbles last week, but he did cough the ball up 3 times. The ball went loose. Their O-line is not great. They overpaid for an average center in free agency and Bayadaz. And the biggest thing for me is Jaden's a rushing threat right now. We know he has a good arm, but Scary Terry only had 2 catches last week against Tampa Bay. Banks and McLaurin is going to be a huge matchup. So I think the defense is really going to have to keep the Giants in this game, and they're going to have to find a way to get Malik Neighbors the ball. I read a stat too. Last week, he had just under 4 yards on average of separation. That was 8th best among NFL wide receivers. So Neighbors, 5 catches, 66 yards. He could have done so much more if he had competent quarterback play that could get him the football.
His first catch in the NFL was a 25-yard ball. Like, what? I don't understand why we just decided that we were just not going to keep doing that. It's crazy to me. Wandell is another piece. Like, I want to see them continue to get him heavily involved. It's so head scratching. Like, that game was, that's the most like speechless I've been from the Giants, which again, like, is saying a lot. But this defense they need to get involved. I mean, you can look at what Minnesota did, and I'm not going to diminish like that win for them, but like, you look at the stats on paper, and like, it's not that impressive. Like, it really is not. What they did is not impressive. They held Justin Jefferson to under 60 yards. Jordan Addison for under 40. Aaron Jones was the highlight there, but we know that's kind of been our deal for a while. Like, we let teams run all over us. Still for under 100. I mean, that's better than what we're kind of used to. So, and I think those wide receivers are I don't want to say much more talented because it sounds rude, but like, they're a different level to me than, the guys that are on Washington. Like, I just think this team has no excuses this week. Like, I'm not going to sit there and watch that again. Like, that TV is going to go off so fast. I promise you guys.
I was like just thinking about the last time I felt like very, very happy watching a Giants game. And I'm pretty sure it was when they played the Packers last year and Tommy DeVito started and he made like that just amazing winning drive down the field. And he threw like a bomb to Wan'Dale Robinson. And I was like, whoa, we can do that? Like,
I just want to see a receiving touchdown. Like, is that like so hard to ask for? Like, just one.
I just want to see someone throw the ball and have a receiver catch it and have it be so beautiful and just run into the end zone. It's like that. And it's almost like I forget what that's like. I'm watching other teams do it. I know
Naturally.
It's possible.
You watch other teams too, and it's like, it looks so easy. Like, why does it look so clunky when we play football? Why does it look like they're playing in a different league than everyone else? It drives me crazy. I also I didn't think Minnesota looked that great. Like, I think they probably get humbled this week against the 49ers. But yeah, it's just like, enough is enough with this team. Like, again, and also, knock on wood, I'll probably regret saying this, but like, you guys are healthy. Like, this is the first time in a while that we're healthy. You have everything you need on this team. Like, what else? What is it going to take? So it's Danny now. Like, now it is very obviously Danny.
Agreed. What's up, Cole G? Appreciate the comment. And Adam says, Daves is not the problem. He's made big changes to this team, and just some players aren't performing. When you have one of the best O-lines in the league, can you disagree? I wouldn't call them one of the best just yet. I think they're average right now. They're still gelling. They haven't had a whole lot of time together. They're veterans now. The penalties too.
Undisciplined. Like, if I'm gonna knock Daves for anything, like, they just look very undisciplined. Like, why are we still having too many men in the huddle? Like, what? I just don't like. It's enough. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Those are very simple things that need to be cleaned up. Like, the amount of flags. What are you guys doing? Like, I don't understand. It's so frustrating.
The too many men in the huddle. Really.
What are you doing? Like, I just don't understand. Like, get off the field.
And they're all looking at each other like, oh, me?
Yeah.
And you're just like,
who's going to go off? And then two of them are sprinting. Like, it's going to freaking hell.
No, oh my God. It's just
so bad.
Really, really bad. Sam, what's your first key to beating Washington? This is the team we have to beat. I have mine. What's yours? How are the Giants getting back to 101? They haven't lost to Washington since 2021, actually, because 2022 they won and then they tied, and then 23 they swept. It's been a long time.
I'm gonna say, and it sounds like so simplistic, but like, get points on the board. Like, get the ball down the field, utilize your offense in a great, we don't have to throw an 80-yard bomb down the field to Malik Neighbors, but like, nickel and dime them, get 5 yards here, get 10 yards here, utilize it. And I know Devin Singletary is not a star running back, but he's not bad. He's not a bad running back by any stretch of the mean. So like, get the ball in his hands, nickel and dime him down the field, utilize their vulnerabilities to the way that we can score points, because if we go through another week without scoring a touchdown and go into week 3 with not a single touchdown listed for this team yet, like,
oh my gosh,
that's going to be a huge issue.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can't even like imagine going through watching another game without a touchdown. It's so bad.
And Singletary's not bad. Like you
That's
said,
what I'm
the
saying,
Giants
yeah.
got themselves into a negative game script where they couldn't run the football. People are like, oh, he had 10 rushes for 37 yards. Did you watch the game? They were barely able to give him the ball in the second half. They couldn't establish anything.
No. Nothing was established. There was nothing was going on. It just didn't, it was all over the place. Like, and they have to like come out of the gate hot. Like, what? Just come out of the gate, throw the ball, like assert some form of dominance for once. Like, stop acting like the Giants in the way like all these teams talk about you, all these coaches talk about you, all these players talk about you. Like, this team just, they need a win so bad, and like a good win, like a good true team win. They need that terribly, or we're in for probably like a 1-6, like a horrible season is what we're in for.
I'm thinking about Germany.
I canceled my flight. I'm not going there. Like, I canceled my flight. I canceled my trip. I'm not going to Germany to watch that team.
You were going to go?
Yeah, I canceled my plane ticket.
Whoa.
I'm not going. There's no way I'm going to Germany, because by the slight chance, because I do think we're a better team than, if the Panthers beat us and I went to Germany, yeah, I would maybe be looking at finding a new fandom. That would probably be it for me.
And the flight back.
That'd be rough.
Adam says, yikes. Yep.
Yeah, horrible.
So, Stephie, would you say getting off to a fast start is your key, or is there anything else on top of that you think they have to do, maybe defensively on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, can we see the pass rush that is cost us a lot of money and is supposed to be very, very good and one of the best in the leagues? Because I didn't see that last week. I think you take advantage of this Commanders O-line that does not look good, make Daniels uncomfortable. And like, again, like attack them where they're weak. They're weak in their secondary and they're weak in their O-line. So find those holes and actually try to do something with it. And Daniel, don't turn the ball over, like at least not more than once. And can it not lead to points for the other team? You know, like, got to clean it up.
Totally. I'm also saying too, on top of that, I mentioned that before as a key to pass rush. And if you're going to get any good quarterback play out of Jones, you have to protect him.
Yeah.
Last week, Andrew Thomas gave up nothing. Runyon gave up a sack, but other than that, he was very good. Yeah. JMS, not bad. Greg Van Roten, probably the worst lineman we have. And actually, last year, he might have been the best lineman outside of Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, you have a point.
And then Illuminor, he's been really, really good so far, even in preseason.
Yeah.
So that's key for me. Steelers fan, go Pittsburgh. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate you, buddy.
It's really just Daniel, I think, to be honest. Like, Daniel in the pass rush, I think it comes down to just, it's as simple as that.
It's going to be super visible when, I'm saying when because it's probably going to happen, he gets benched. And either Drew Lock or Tommy comes in and they can get the ball in the receiver's hands and pass the ball off to a running back. Like, that's when it's going to be completely transparent.
And it's very obvious Dable doesn't trust him. Like, I think that's very, like, this has been very evident for, especially since last year. Like, they put Tyrod or Cutlets in, and they're throwing the ball downfield. Like, but back, people forget this now, but a couple of years ago, all people would talk about if they were to compliment Daniel Jones is his deep ball. Mm-hmm. Yet we weren't seeing any of that. They weren't even trusting him to do that. So you've taken away the one thing that he used to be good at. I don't know. Hopefully that's still in him somewhere, but Dable's got to I almost would rather see shots down the field and those get picked off, to be honest, than whatever we're doing right now. Like, I want to see them at least give him the opportunity to throw the ball.
I agree.
And where was Jalen Hyatt? Nowhere. with Slayton.
Yeah, what's up with that? And then was it Dable that said he's like the third, fourth receiver on the roster? Like, what was he saying? And I don't listen to a lot of stuff. I have a lot of it muted because it starts to drive me crazy. But what is that about? And why are we saying that out loud?
I don't know. But now with Slayton and concussion protocol, Hyatt's going to have to get an uptick in snaps this week.
Yeah.
Wandale got targeted 12 times last week, only caught 6 balls because Jones was missing him left and right. Yeah. Malik had 5 catches, and then Hyatt was maybe targeted once. So deep ball is Daniel's strength. Dable clearly him and Shane drafted Jalen Hyatt for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I don't understand.
The deep ball, and he can't. He can't. That's why they got to go.
It's starting to feel like they're drafting and very much planning for like not this year. Like it's annoying because can you at least try to win? Like I get that we're looking forward, but it's starting to just get like obnoxious. Like you're not putting like your best foot forward, in my opinion. Like I get what you're doing, and like I kind of see the vision. Like somewhat, it's a little hazy, but like Daniel Jones is still your quarterback right now. Mm-hmm. You guys chose to pay him. Like even in Hard Knocks, like Dable didn't speak up, and when they were sitting in that room talking about quarterbacks. So like obviously the bigger vision, the bigger picture here is Dable and Shane keep their jobs and they handpick whoever they want in this next class, unless the Maras are crazy and they're trying to get Arch and the whole conspiracy that way, because I could totally see that happening. But like I get it. We're planning for the future. This isn't like a win now team. Got it. Cool. But we have to get through a season, and we're going into week 2. And whatever you're doing right now is really not working.
Carson Beck, 2025. I'm hoping for.
I can't even do it. I cannot believe we're back here. Like I knew it was going to happen, but it's so crazy. Like during that game, I'm like, all right, on to the draft. Let's get it started. Guess I'm really honing in on college football this year but it sucks like that. And then there's the anxiety of like, okay, well, how great have our round 1 picks really turned out to be the last couple of years? Because are we sure that's even going to work?
Burns and Tibbs were on a milk carton this past game.
Yeah.
Agree. Carson
Burns
Beck.
had like 1 good play, and that was like about all we saw from him.
What up, Nick Tunks, Jacksonville native, big Giants fan, and flies airplanes for a living. Thank you, Nick, for commenting. Hopefully you're doing your job. Just kidding. He also beat me in fantasy this week in my other league by 0.6 points.
Oh, that's the worst. The worst.
Sorry. I really don't know if I can do another Manning. I don't know. It's tough. Like it's also he's not. It's not like Arch is starting. He's like the nation's favorite backup quarterback right now.
I just want them to take whoever, I don't care, take the consensus QB1 at pick 2 and be done with it. Like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Just get a quarterback, let Dable, like, do his thing, because then you can decide if it's Dable. Then you get rid of Dable, bring someone else in, and you still have the quarterback, and you're not wasting years like we keep doing. So, yeah, I don't know. We need a new quarterback, and it's a shame that we have to sit through another freaking season of this.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then quickly, before we make our game predictions, just a couple players to watch for each team. Washington specifically, they added Austin Eckler, who I think is a very dynamic pass catching back. Yeah. 50 receiving yards last week. He's really, really good. And the Giants have issues with pass catching backs. So Washington has sort of changed their identity. Last year it was Sam Howell and Brian Robinson Jr., a lot of I formation and classic shotgun when they were getting into 3rd and long, and Howell was throwing erratic passes. Now you have a mobile quarterback in Jaden Daniels, who is a rookie, sure, but you have 2 quality backs. That's a 3-headed monster in the backfield, if you're asking me.
Which we should be able to contain, though. So it's like, is that passer, like, is that going to show up where we can contain that? Like, I do think we have the ability to do that, but it's just like, who's going to show up on any given day? That's the problem.
True.
Yeah. It's
What
depressing.
do you think, Sam?
In terms of players to watch, gosh, for Washington, I mean, yeah, Brian Robinson is somebody who's going to be like a solid running back forever, and they have this dual threat of him and Eckler now. So definitely got to keep an eye on that, especially just because of Aaron Jones being the best player basically from the Vikings last week. And Jaden Daniels is like, we just have to focus on this run game, right? Like Jaden Daniels is rushing all over the place, so it seems like that's what we have to hone in on here. Because it's Jaden Daniels is still trying to figure out when he's throwing and when he's running, and it seems like he's relying more on himself right now, so he's running more often. But yeah, I think those guys are definitely, just the run game in general. Anybody who's going to be running is probably the guys that we got to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Stephie, does anybody else stand out on Washington for you specifically?
No, I think you guys nailed it there. I think Jaden's really a big piece. Eckler as well. It's a really good point because Aaron Jones really did, like, he looked very, very flashy from a player, outside of his last 3 games last year. For a guy that, there's rumblings of being washed, like that man did not look washed to me. So I think Eckler, they're going to get him in the receiving game. And then Jaden Daniels, I mean, listen, it's still a rookie. He had 88 yards on the ground last week. So that's a problem alone. So I think if we can contain him, keep an eye on him, I'm not so much worried, which famous last words about their wide receivers. And maybe that's foolish of me, but I thought our secondary actually looked like, I know it's not good, but I did think like it looked kind of promising. Like there was certain moments where I was like, that's not horrible. Like that was kind of okay. And I know that's not saying a lot, but this wide receiver room doesn't like do anything crazy for me. So yeah, I think it's really the running game. Like you got to control that. Make them throw the ball.
It's Scary Terry, Luke McCaffrey, Christian's younger brother, and then Noah Brown. That doesn't scare me at all.
Okay, yeah.
To be honest. And I think the only thing that really makes me a little uneasy is Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne up the middle. They've been 2 first-round DTs for years up there, going up against a second-year center in John Michael Schmitz and, John Runyon Jr., who we brought in to be a pass-blocking guard. He's solid, so hopefully having him rather than a guy like Azudu or McKeithen in previous years could help offset that. And ultimately, Baker Mayfield did throw 4 touchdowns against the Commanders last week. So Daniel Jones, can you at least throw 2? Is that asking too much?
That's a little much, Tom. I think we gotta at least just get the 1 first, just to
Can we just get the media a little bit off our back? Like just throw a couple, like throw 1, throw 2, like 1 rushing, like something to get them off our back because it's truly unbearable. And I don't think this team is as bad as they displayed week 1.
I agree. Sam Hartman was also a Commander, Sam. On the 53 now.
My angel.
Amazing.
Love him forever.
Beautiful man.
It's hard for him to even throw a 5-yard out.
We know.
Bill Belichick. Too old. Not happening.
Bill Belichick he's like doing Manning cast now and has like a 23-year-old.
And I don't want anyone from the Belichick tree. Like, I'm done. I think I'd rather go a different direction. Like, give me someone from like Shanahan, Kubiak, like more down that route instead of. I think we should just like close the door on the Belichick tree if this does come to an end.
Definitely. So we were talking about corners and receivers before, so we might see more of Hyatt this week. Slayton and concussion protocol. Olszewski is out for weeks, Sam. So the Giants signed Ihmir Smith-Marsette to be the returner. And our starting corner, Nick McLeod, is out. So
great.
Fun.
Love that for us.
So Adoree, who's back, who, by the way, that PI call was BS last week.
Yeah.
Bang, bang contact. No, thank you, Adam. No. Appreciate the input.
I know.
Let's get into our game prediction. So, Stephie, we'll start with you as the guest. Who's winning? And if you have a final score, you can throw that in there too.
I'm going to take the Giants. Oh no, my camera might be going in now. I'm going to take the Giants because I refuse to accept what last week was, even though in my gut I think the Commanders are winning. I'll go 16-14, the New York Giants. And I think that probably involves a defensive touchdown, but it's okay.
I can see that happening, 100%. I am not feeling as confident, unfortunately.
I'm not confident. I'm just trying not to be nice.
I feel like we always get so sad if we ever have just like a full sweep of like not winning on this show. But I am gonna go with the Commanders here. Like I feel like the Commanders are a lot stronger than we think that they are. I mean, I think someone is Zach Ertz playing? Isn't Zach Ertz on the Commanders?
Yeah,
we didn't even mention.
Veteran rest day today.
He got a couple receptions.
Yeah, it's like, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin. Like this offense on paper actually seems pretty strong.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to put up quite a number of points here. I'm going to say 24-14 Commanders.
Sounds about right.
And hopefully we get at least one passing and one rushing touchdown here.
That would be cool.
Devin Singletary, score a point.
Please.
Would love that. I think Malik Neighbors is going to have a big game. I think Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau are going to have a big game. Those two combined for 19.5 sacks last year on their respective teams. Tibbs with us and then Burns in Carolina. 4 career games against Washington. Thibodeau has 5.5 sacks. I think huge games are incoming for both of them. Malik's going to do well. He'll see a lot of Benjamin St. Juste. However, something doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
I'm going Washington 20-13. I think we're going to be tied late, possibly even have the lead and blow it. I don't like saying that, but usually when I pick the Giants to lose, they win. So hopefully that's reverse fortune there. Kenneth has 24-10 Washington. Giants D scores TD. Could see it. Could
Sounds
definitely
great
see
as
it.
well.
Man. Yeah, 2013. None of us have a lot of points.
No.
I think, Stephie, you have the most. 16.
Try my best.
Last question.
Yeah.
Is this Jones's last start before getting benched?
No, they're going to milk this.
I say no.
Yeah, they're going to milk this. This is, again, like there's been this like hovering cloud of just like looking, it's like the future is up here. So they're not going to go and bet, like they're going to wait a couple games because then what? You put in cutlets and we win a couple games. That's the same thing that happened last year. So they don't want to be in that position to put yourself out of like a draft spot that you really need. So I don't think I just don't see them pulling him out. Like, and they're going to stand their ground and be stubborn a little bit. Like you paid the guy. I mean, I think after Hard Knocks, the world was very aware of what was going on. So yeah, I don't think it's his last start. I think we see him. Honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised if we see him like through week 6. Like that wouldn't shock me, to be honest. It's gonna be unless it gets really bad. Like if there's a game that gets out of control, like say, I mean, they didn't even take him out of the Cowboys game week 1 last year. So it's like I don't know with them. I don't see them pulling him during a game. I think it will be a decision that's made prior to a game.
I agree.
Very fair. All right, Stephie, thank you. So much for hopping on. Where can people find you and your work that you do? I know Sam said you have a big presence, media personality. Tell people where they can find Stephie Smalls.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I hope that the next time I come on, we can have a happier conversation and hopefully we all can keep the game on this week. You can find me across social media at Stephie Smalls with 3 L's. And then I have my own show, the Stephie Smalls Show, YouTube, and then podcast form. And then I'm around. Everything I do is, usually on Twitter. And then if not, Instagram, the whole, all the socials. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. Hopefully this weekend goes well for us.
Thank you so much, Stephie.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Have a good night, okay? Stephie Smalls, folks. Great guest.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun time, but I agree. I hope next time we talk to Stephie, we're on much better much better terms in terms of what's happening in the New York Giants world, for sure.
It's like on these shows now, like this year, the fact that it's gotten this low after 1 week, it's hard to like come up with like entertaining segments to talk about, folks. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to do our best throughout the course of the season. It's definitely going to be brutal if the Giants don't turn things around. But, Sam, expect the unexpected, right? You know, we may see like a 21-10 victory this week. I would love to see that. I would love to see Daniel Jones play better. And to be honest, it's not like we're going through a gauntlet the first couple of weeks. Next week, we have the Browns, and the Browns are in a total mess right now. There's a good chance Jameis Winston might be starting that game in week 3. So I don't know what's going to happen. I would argue, Sam, the Browns are worse of a mess than we are for different reasons. Yes and no. I mean, he hasn't played well either. The Browns offense has not played well. Deshaun has played horrible. Aside from the off the field stuff, his performance has been horrendous.
He looks really bad.
And his salary is fully guaranteed. At least the Giants with Jones, there's an out after this year where you still have to eat up some dead money, but you'll save almost $20 million if you do release Daniel Jones after this season. So that could potentially be a win. And then I'm looking, Dallas, that's a loss. At Seattle, who knows if they're good besides quarterback play there. I don't know, Sam. These next 2 weeks, they're both winnable games. I don't know if I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see how this weekend goes. We'll see how we fare against a divisional team, against a fairly new, roster put together here. But I'm not going to hold my breath. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts for the fans, Sam? Any words of wisdom? If you're a miserable Giants fan watching us tonight, heading into Sunday, anything optimistic you think they should be considering, or just hope for the best?
Maybe watch repeat Super Bowl to feel something again. Maybe feel a little happiness. Maybe watch some Tommy DeVito highlights. Get ready for the rest of the season. It'll be fun. We're all in this together.
Yes, we are all in this together. We will be back next week previewing the Browns game. We're very excited to do that. We'll talk about Washington, see how that unfolds. And yes, Sam, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for coming on. I love the Tommy Cutlets shirt reveal tonight. That was epic.
Thank you.
Love that. And folks, appreciate you all in the comments section. And just a reminder, if you've been watching us tonight, you want to check out more of our content, there's our social media below on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. On behalf of Sam Cardona Norberg, I'm Tom Scavetta saying so long. You've been watching Big Blue Avenue here on Facebook Live and YouTube. And without further ado, folks, let's go Big Blue.